Hey there, how there, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to Cutter Degrassi Unpopular Opinions. I'm not really rebooting the series, I'm just basically giving you a Degrassi Unpopular Opinion. I know I haven't done too many Degrassi videos lately. I've been busy with other projects and all that, and I didn't really have any Degrassi great ideas. So, anyway, 3 weeks ago, I was actually watching Bright Breezy's Degrassi video, about the school shooting episodes and talked about multiple shows with school shootings. And the first one she devoted her efforts into was Degrassi. And of course, the whole Rick Murray situation, saying from the beginning about Rick's secret admirer thing, phase up to the fact that Spitter had to learn to deal with his problems post Alec, and you know post Rick. And I noticed something Bryce said. Like, Bryce was talking about how Spinner had to be expelled and had to lose a year because of his involvement and basically telling on himself and Jay and everything. And the scene was when Spinner tries to make peace with Hatzilakos after being expelled. And all she can do is give him summer courses. And he says he's just a few credits short. And he basically says, that's just unfair. And all she goes is, what's more unfair is the fact that Rick Murray is inadvertently dead because of your actions. Because I know that in the expulsion scene, she basically says one boy is in a wheelchair and one boy is in a grave because of your selfish actions. I mean, like, the fact is that, blaming Spinner for Jimmy's downfall is fair game, but blaming Spinner for Rick's death, it just doesn't pass the smell test. It really doesn't. So I made a post 3 weeks ago, and this is being taped July 5th, 2026, in which I basically said this. Well, the title was, anyone else think that Hatzilakos made a bad decision telling Spinner he was inadvertently responsible for Rick's death? And I said, here's the context. I was watching Bri Breezy's video about time spent on the aftermath and how she felt Degrassi portrayed things. And she agreed with a lot of things, like Emma's bold, bad decisions in the aftermath, Jimmy trying to find his identity, Rick trying to deal with the negativity, and Spinner needing to lose everyone to gain a loyal following. I said, in her video, Bri Breezy played the clip of Spinner trying to get his credits back despite being expelled and all he could do summer school. And Hatzilakos said, what's not fair is that Rick Murray's dead because of your indirect actions. I'm like, what the bleep? Okay, blaming Spinner for Jimmy's situation is fair game, but blaming him for Rick's death, I don't get it. She probably was in full anger mode with how Degrassi may have been put in the zero tolerance policy because of this. But two things. A, blaming Spinner for Rick's death is not good to people's perceptions of you as an Hatzilakos. And B, where was the zero tolerance crap with Peter the next season? Maybe she's mad that Rick's dead because there's things that never got answered. But personally, if there was a trial, Degrassi was going to be more shook than it was in season 4. Many characters would have faced legal ramifications, even Emma to a point. And I even said Raditch would not have said that to Spinner's face, and that's saying something. Like, I don't think Raditch would have said that in a way. I think he would have been mad at Spinner with the bullying that led to this thing. But after all, Rick brought a gun to the school. He chose to do that. He could have done what Claude did a Claude, like, Claude Tanner from Degrassi High and off himself in the school, but that didn't happen. So, yeah, of course, Hatzilakos was named principal after Raditch messed everything up. A lot of people argue that Raditch screwed up because, he didn't take Rick seriously enough. But you gotta also remember that he screwed up with the students at the start by letting Rick back in the school without any feedback. I mean, I know he was saying that he was kind of forced into this decision because of a lack of a police report. But I mean, like, common sense should have gotten to Raj and he said, nah, I can't do that. There were a few other schools he could have went to, even Lakehurst. But the fact is that he let him back at the school and it became a powder cake. And what did he do? He didn't do much. He shied at Emma, saying, stay out of this. This isn't one of your stupid crusades. Yeah, and you're really going to help that situation out. It's just going to make Emma more and more angry and prove to me that you do have a grudge against Emma, especially from season 2. So, anyway, but like, yeah, he got booted. He also got booted for the aftermath. I mean, I think the school board gave him another shot. He screwed the aftermath. He got called out on it, and practically he got left alone. And then Hatzilakos became the principal. She was doing quite well, and she even asked Manny and Marco to help the school heal and all that, which was great. And then she made the decision to expel Jay and Spinner, of course. Alex, of course, was not set up that way because Spinner and Jay kept Alex out of it because it was the situation that Alex wasn't aware of. So yeah, she became principal, and then in season 5, she didn't do well with punishing Peter for sending Manny's topless video out. Should have expelled him. She should have. She should have set an example saying that the no zero tolerance thing was zero tolerance. If it was zero tolerance, Peter would have been screwed over. I think it was just a one off. For me, it feels like a one off that she was going to set this up. And I think the school board set this up for Degrassi and punished Degrassi for the whole situation, despite the fact that Rick was a monster in the first place. Yeah. I mean, so now let me take a look at the comments of my post. Okay, Sandy Star says, I mean, he is. The entire situation was caused by them dropping the paint on him and then blaming Jimmy. Obviously, they didn't force Rick to get the gun, but the constant bullying was directly responsible for Rick snapping. I mean, it wasn't all the bullying to do with Rick. I mean, to do with Jay, Spinner, Alex, and Co. I mean, there were other students that bullied them in a sense. And basically, they felt like with Spinner and Jay being in trouble, that the heat was off them. I mean, yeah, the bullying and all that, but like, Hatzilakos could have even made a point saying that, your actions made him snap and all that, and could have blown up the school. That probably would have been an easier explanation. Crimson Fang Knight says no, because it's true, and he needed to confront the reality of what he did. This wouldn't work on Jay because he gave zero fucks about anyone involved in wanted drama. Obviously, yeah, Jay gave zero fucks about anyone involved in wanted drama. So, yeah, needs to confront the reality of what he did. Yeah, the reality is he put Jimmy in a wheelchair. Yes. And that Rick is dead and all that. I mean, yeah, you could have been better first in that. Which Amarillo says, to me, the difference between Spinner, Jay, and Alex is that Spinner was remorseful. Did Jay or Alex show any remorse? I can't remember if Sean was involved. I know he saved Emma's life when Rick was going to shoot her. And someone said, yeah, she was remorseful. In the episode after the episode, like the episode with the grief counselors on Monday, she said she was going to talk to somebody, and Jay says, be careful who you talk to. Oh yeah, and that's right. In the same episode, she actually walks out of class saying that, why did I go along with this and all that? Yeah. And of course, Alex felt remorse, but too bad she didn't say anything. But Alex, I think, knew that if she said something, she was in trouble. Well, I told the person, I said, Sean was involved because when they found out about Rick putting their X on their cars, Jay wanted to go to Radish about this, but Sean tells him not to because they would have to explain themselves. I mean, I think Sean didn't realize how much of a prick Radish kind of was. The question was, in Radish's mood, especially with Rick, would he have cared about that? You know, yeah. Critic Matt says, not that she was wrong, but it's a little harsh for an adult to say that to a child in such a way. Meh, depending on the age thing. Cherry Blossom said, "Yes, I've always felt this way. Besides, Rick, the responsibility lies with the adults who mishandled letting him back at Degrassi and all the bullying in the first place. I think expelling him is fair on the grounds of bullying, but blaming him for Rick's death is out of line." That's right. Makes sense. The adults, it felt like they were trying to sweep themselves under the rug. Simpson didn't. Simpson told, the Kerwins and Nelsons and all those people that were gathering at the Kerwins, he even said that we didn't take Rick's bullying seriously. We screwed up. I mean, he took accountability. And in my head canon, I think Snake was given the shot to be principal once Radich was turfed. However, Snake refused to on the grounds of, "I don't want to be like my predecessor." So I think he balked, and that's when Hatzilakos got a shot. Yeah, and a person agreed, saying one of the reasons why she did it is because she, precisely what you said, the adults failed. She was trying to look for someone else to blame to avoid facing that. I think that's what Raj probably would have been like too. Like he was trying to blame someone else. And in my head canon, I think that Raj refused to go anywhere near Rick's visitation/funeral because he knew that Rick's family would have been asking questions. Raj didn't have the answers. Practically, Raj probably felt like he would have had to confess some stuff. And of course, the school board took him to task. I mean, Raj got lucky that he was reassigned and not just plain out fired. Because I think the school board kind of did admit, oh man, maybe we dropped the ball with this situation and allowing Raj to get Rick back and all that. I think they were trying to hide their problems and made Raj a scapegoat. Raj probably was so upset with the education racket that he left and went to Chubcut Rebuild. Dan the Man says, to be fair, if they hadn't pulled the prank and let Rick have his moment, he would have left that day not hurting anyone. Yes, he was unstable, and who knows what would have happened in the future. But hindsight is always 20/20. Spinner and Jay didn't mean well. They had malicious intentions, even if they obviously wouldn't have done it. They knew how Rick would react. Spinner was far from innocent. And while it gets the show, it's the real world. I think most students, if they pulled a prank like that, would have been expelled. Rick reacted like he did because he was unstable, but they tarred and feathered him on live TV. Hell, that's assault. Spinner should have been expelled absolutely if Rick didn't shoot up the school. And then Parabo Dub says Rick went to the bathroom to speak to Paige after he spoke to Paige, and he had second thoughts. He basically shot Jimmy because of what Jay and Spinner said. It's possible that Paige did talk him down without realizing it, and Spinner and Jay convinced him to continue. They do have some fault. That's the thing. Like, yes, I'm not saying that Spinner should not have been expelled for this whole situation. I'm just saying that in context about Hatzilakos blaming Spinner for Rick's death. I think I did a few unpopular opinions about that in the past. I did. But yeah, but this is basically a rehash, if you will. But yeah, I think that Hatzilakos kind of went a little offbeat. Yes, Spinner and Jay should be blamed for what happened to Jimmy, but for Rick's death, why? Well, I mean, for bullying Rick, yeah, that's a different kettle of fish. You could say that. But why are you telling him you're responsible for a death? You know that. Someone says, I think she got on a power trip, enforcing a new zero tolerance policy on bullying. Maybe she wanted to send a message across, pill style. So yeah, she expelled 3 people. People actually were like, who were the third of them? No, it was actually it was Sean because of what Peter planted the drug to Sean's locker, and Sean was unfairly expelled. But then after Peter got exposed by Emma, I think Hatzilakos did allow Sean to come back, but Sean balked. Yeah, everything. So yeah, that's the thing. Though I mean, everyone. I think a few people got off topic saying, about um, Spinner should have been expelled. Yeah, like he should have been expelled. I'm not excusing that. I'm just saying how Hatzilakos phrased it. Did she really have to tell Spinner that he was responsible for Rick's death? She should have just said that you're responsible for the bullying that put Rick in a bad situation. That would have made much more sense than saying, well, Rick's dead because of you. I mean, she constantly was trying to remind Spinner about his bad deeds and all that in season 5. I felt like sometimes maybe she was just trying to push Spinner into doing something bad and Spinner getting expelled. I don't know. Spinner was under a short leash and Spinner went to the friendship club. He had the conflicts with Marco and the group. But I mean, they disbanded from him. He was trying to get them back. I mean, Spinner was probably upset with them about the friendship club saying that, you're not talking to me. Why do you care? Like Spinner was trying to fix the problem. And he did at the end of season 5 with Jimmy, and everything worked out. And that was all there was to it. But yeah, was Hatzilakos out of line? In a sense, yes. I can understand where she's getting it from. But, it just didn't seem like a good line and all that. You can blame Jimmy for You can blame Spinner for Jimmy's predicament, but blaming Spinner for why Rick's in the grave is terrible and all that. And I think she was just upset that they never got the right answers about Rick and all that. If Rick was alive, he would have been on trial. He would have said what he had to say. And Degrassi would have been blown to smithereens by everything. And they had to admit it in the court of law. So Degrassi saved their butts by not having a trial. Really. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.